Hey everyone, welcome back to Get a Heck Yes with me, your host, Carissa Wu. I have a very, very special guest today. I'm so excited. She's a dating coach for high performers, former celebrity wedding photographer. Her name is Christine Chang, and she's a relationship author and speaker based in Los Angeles. And she helps high performing women create the relationship of their dreams by teaching self awareness, boundaries, accountability, and communication skills. Her book, Show Up Finding Love for Independent Women, has helped thousands of professional women all over the world finding their life partner. And I'm a hopeless romantic and infatuated with love and relationships. So I'm super excited for this conversation. Welcome, Christine Chang.
Thank you for having me.
Yay, say hello to all the viewers on YouTube and all the listeners.
Hello, listeners. Hello, wedding photographers. Hello, wedding event professionals, my fellow peers, or should I say ex peers, because I was in the industry for 15 years, so I know exactly what it's like.
Yes, I've been following you. I've been a fangirl of yours from since I became a wedding photographer 12 years ago. So I've been following your amazing work. A lot of my friends, they sign up for your workshops, and you help them attract high-end clientele. But yeah, I just been loving everything that you're putting out on social media. And when I saw that you wrote a book, I was super excited for you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a journey, this what do they call it? Career pivot. It's completely different from what I was doing before. I guess the only overlap would be the draw towards romance and connection and all that, because as wedding photographers or wedding professionals, most of us have that. That's why we're in the industry. That connection is very appealing to us, and so I always wanted it for myself. And I had a lot of trouble dating, and in my personal romantic relationships before I met my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why is this so hard? Is there something wrong with me? And I knew I wasn't the only one. And so
Mm,
I dove into it over the span of years, of course, right? Doing introspection, personal growth.
mm.
And I wanted to provide a resource for women who may be in a similar situation, because there's a lot of resources out there about how to's, but very few people talk about the emotions that come with it, how painful it can feel, how frustrating.
Mm,
And especially if you're a high performer and you're good at a lot of things, including your work and your friends, and you're like, I come from a good family, like, I'm funny. Like, what is there something wrong with me? Why is this part of my life so challenging? And so I
yeah.
wanted to offer a resource for women who may be going through that to ease it a bit and to help give clarity.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like you're kind of in the niche of your own. So that's why I feel like your book has done so well on Amazon. And I feel like I've been seeing you go to all those workshops. And I thought it was so cool because you're the only person doing what you're doing. And I think of you kind of like the love doctor.
Yeah, and I would have never guessed that I would have been in this industry if you would have asked me, just because it was something I was never good at. Like
Mm,
coaching people on relationships. I was brought up in a like Asian household where I did not learn healthy communication. I was never asked, what are you feeling? I had to seek these things out when I became an adult, and I did so much work on it that I realized, oh my gosh, like I have I'm pretty good at this now. I've learned how to be good at this. I've learned how to create the relationship of my dreams. Like, there is a blueprint here. And it was not an easy route for me. I don't think any personal growth is easy, but it's worth it in the end if you want to create the life that you want.
wow. Okay. So when were you in your wedding photography journey? Like what year did you meet your now amazing husband?
Okay, so Pete, I met him. Oh, what is it, like 6.5 years ago, and
Okay.
I had already had thoughts that I wanted to stop photographing weddings. That is one tip I will give for actually anyone in any industry, is because sometimes we're short-sighted and we just start doing things, especially when you're younger, like, I want to travel the world and photograph weddings, and it's super fun. And in my 20s it was super fun, and early 30s, and then slowly I started to think, like, do I still want to be doing this in my 40s, 50s, 60s. And I knew it's
Mm.
something that I did not want to do forever. But I didn't really make an exit plan. I didn't know what would be next. Sometimes I'm very go with the flow. I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Uh-huh.
But because I had no plan in place, the transition was very slow to let go of the wedding photography because there a lot of
Mm.
emotions come up, like fear and oh my gosh, I worked so hard to build a certain reputation, to charge a certain amount, and saying no to those really well-paying weddings was very difficult for me.
Yes.
And also not having the clarity of what was next, because when you don't have the clarity, it's hard to have the confidence to take action and make steps, so
Yeah.
that that's actually what I teach when it comes to creating the relationship of your dreams as well. Is the clarity is very important, because then you will have the confidence to take action.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So you were, in your like middle of your career for wedding photography, were you dating guys that just kind of didn't really accept you for who you are as like an ambitious woman, or did you go through some bad breakups and that's when you had to kind of go through this journey of like self-help and like self-awareness?
Yeah, all of it. So I had my heart broken. I got cheated on. I had a pattern of choosing emotionally unavailable people.
Okay.
What else did I do? Oh, also had a pattern at what point that I like to fix people too. I would choose the fixer
Mm,
uppers, and I had to look into why I was doing that, because it doesn't work. If you choose someone emotionally unavailable, like that does not work. I'm like, what am I trying to create here? I kind of
okay.
worked backwards. Like, what's the final result I want? And then
Mm,
what do I do to get there? And I'm like, choosing someone emotionally unavailable is not that's step one. That does not work. So I had to
uh-huh.
break my draw towards that. And I talk about it more in depth in my book of, and it usually comes from childhood stuff, right? Like, why does this feel familiar to me that I have to chase love? And
Mm.
it was a process for me. It was a process, and I learned a lot. And over time, I started to get more clarity and choose better.
Oh, that's so interesting. I feel like, just thinking about what we were saying and thinking about my past, I felt like my dad was kind of like he gave me a lot of compliments like, "Oh, you're great. You're the best." But he would also give me like negs like, "Why weren't you the fastest at tennis?" Or why like still to this day he's like if I say I have this many weddings. He's like, "Why do you have so many weddings? Like, you're not charging enough." And then if I say I don't have a wedding, he goes, why don't you have a wedding? Like, are you struggling?" And I see the way he talks to my kids too, like, "Oh, why are you climbing? Only boys climb." And I think it really like affected me um, to kind of like the extent where like I don't feel like good enough. And I felt like I would attract like men that were not emotionally available.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very common with overachievers, high performers, is you
Mm,
feel like you're not good enough. And yeah, it takes work, right? To get to get out of that when you're spoken to like that. And it's just like a cultural difference too, because I've spoken to my mom about it. She's like, I don't hear what I'm saying as criticism. And I said,
uh-huh.
I hear it as criticism, mom, and it sounds very negative to me.
I love your mom. I love the videos that you post. So
Like
funny.
classic, like tiger mom, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, the
Aw.
not good enough, it's actually an affirmation that I had, and I wrote it on like little sticky notes, and I stuck them all over my house for like a couple years. I remember when my husband, the first time he came over my house, he saw some of the notes. He's like,
Uh-huh.
"Okay, Mrs. I'm good enough." I'm like, "Those are my affirmations."
Yeah, you have to like everything comes down to self-love. Okay, so when you finally like, knew what you wanted, you wrote it down, you have this vision, you had self-love, did Pete like miraculously come out of the blue and like sweep you off your feet?
Yeah, he came pretty fast when I learned to start saying no to wasn't
Okay.
working, because I think previously I probably probably would have let things drag on, like, oh, maybe he'll change, he'll turn around. But I got so clear on what I wanted, and I had done so much work on myself that I had wanted someone who could meet me where I was. So that's someone who wants to be in a relationship, wants the possibility of getting married and have kids. I didn't want someone who was unsure about me, like someone without
Yeah.
integrity. Those were all no's. So the quicker I was able to say no and, be in my power, have that self love, it just felt easier and easier. And the more I just remember like the no's got quicker, and I met Pete shortly after that.
Wow, that's so amazing. Why do you think it's hard for high achievers or successful women to attract these good men in our lives?
Yeah, I think it's what we spoke about is the self-confidence, the good enough. A lot of times we're
Mm.
confident in our achievements, but when it comes down to self-confidence, like do you feel lovable if you strip all of that stuff away? Do you feel like you could
Oh my
just be
god, okay.
you?
I got chills. I got I think I put 2 and 2 together because we mistake, like, our achievements and confidence with actual true self-love. It's totally different.
It's two different things. Yeah. So do you feel like you're lovable just being you without all the other stuff? So yeah, that's step one. I think that makes it difficult. I think it can also be difficult that sometimes it can go the opposite way where you feel like other people aren't competent enough for you. I
Mm,
because I hear
mhm.
that from women too, they almost like talk down, and they don't give grace to other people because they're
Mm,
hard on
mhm.
themselves too, which makes them very good at their work, because you push yourself, you might like criticize yourself, but then you have to give other people grace because no one's perfect. Everyone's human, including yourself. And a lot of times, sometimes we want to do like the eyeball roll, like, oh my gosh, this guy. But you have to understand, like, one person is not good at everything. So you have to, or I mean, I really had to learn that too, to like be really gentle on myself and in turn be gentle on other people. That it's okay that they're not good at everything, or they know what you need all the time, or that they get it right all the time. Do you know Esther
Yeah.
Perel?
I don't.
She's a psychotherapist. She's amazing, but she talks about how we expect one person to be our everything. Like
Uh-huh.
humans used to live in villages, and you would get that from your community, and now we want that in one person. But
Mm.
it's impossible. Like my husband, there's no way that he can get me in ways that my girlfriends do. That's
Mm,
just
mhm.
impossible. My girlfriends know what I need naturally better than he does, there's just a different connection there. And that's okay. And in the beginning sometimes it feels like disappointing, like, oh, he should know this, like, but
Yeah.
that it's okay. The most important thing is that they're trying. They care and that they're trying. Those are two things I think amazing qualities for a long-term partner versus cuz you can meet someone who totally gets you, but then they have no integrity, or they cheat, or they don't want to be in an exclusive relationship with you, but they get you right. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you really have to get your priorities straight when you are wanting to create a long-term relationship of what are the most important things. And I, again,
Okay, there you
I
go.
yeah, so I write about that in my book as well, and I there's questions to help you get clear on those things.
Oh, I love that. What do you love most about your husband?
His
And what does he
patience.
love most about you?
I love his patience.
Okay.
I need a patient partner. Being a type A woman, I I need that, and it's how they say your favorite thing about someone's also your least favorite thing. So
Oh, yeah.
whatever you ask for, right? There's always the other side of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So a patient person, sometimes I feel like he's so fucking slow. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm really impatient. So I'm like, oh my gosh. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have it any other way because
Uh,
I don't want the impatient person. I've dated that. My mom was that, and it didn't feel good. And
uh-huh.
so I was clear on what I wanted. So yeah, that's my favorite thing about him. And
Aw.
he has said that his favorite thing about me initially was my confidence. and my independence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, he's patient, you're a mover and shaker, and but you need that patient man to, go for all your aspirations. Like you said, now you're starting like your YouTube channel, and it's like a whole, it's like you start from the beginning almost. And it's kind of like as overachievers, and entrepreneurs, girl bosses, we're like constantly like trying to evolve and do better and um, just create this pretty much empire for ourselves. And we need like men to be very patient about that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I find the two scenarios that seem to work best for high performing women or high performers in general, and I see it at the conferences, like Engage, the wedding conference. The people who are
Yeah.
married, I observe them, and always two scenarios that work. It's either they have a super supportive partner that like you do you, babe. So they're at home with the
Mm,
kids and they're always off like traveling, doing their thing, or the couples work together. And so I usually tell people you have to get really clear on what support looks
mm,
like to you because that looks different
mm.
for everybody. Some people they do want a partner that they can run the business with and they're together most of the time, and other people they're very independent and they're fine having a partner that just says you do you, babe. But I think that
Uh,
freedom to be us and having a supportive partner like create the life that we want is very important.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you really need to just bring the best out of each other. I think that's what makes like the best partnership or marriage. I was going to ask you like it's kind of a spin on my like, title of my podcast, but say like if you are a high achiever and you don't have so much self-love and maybe like you're always trying to like get that next thing to feel like good about yourself. Like how do you change that mindset? How do you give yourself a heck yes? Like is it like more self-care? Is it saying affirmations, getting a therapist? Like where would you kind of direct them to?
Yeah, working on self-love, different things work for different people. I'm always a fan of therapy if one can afford to see a therapist, and the having the right therapist I think is important too. So I think it's like it's like dating, right? Like you go
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
talk to a few and make sure you have like the right therapist. Um and then also, I mean, there are like on Instagram, you hear about like self love, the bubble baths, or go to the spa, whatever. That's like the
Uh-huh.
easy stuff. Yes, you should be
Mhm.
nice to yourself and do nice things for yourself. But
Uh-huh.
I think it's also when you are feeling down or not good enough, your self talk and uh, how accepting you are when you're not in a good place. Like talking to yourself how you
Mm.
wish someone spoke to you when you were a kid. When you can love
Mm.
yourself through that, I feel like is that's when you know you're
Ooh.
in a good place.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's pretty much saying that pretend you are like your child, like talk to yourself as you would want to be spoken to. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's
Okay.
certain visualizations you can do where you like pretend to talk to the kid version of you. And if you're really
Oh.
present and go to a deep space, it can be like pretty emotional. And
Oh,
another one,
interesting.
I think a lot of us have stuff to heal with our parents as well. And
Mm.
there's different routes to go about that. Therapy was helpful for me. I did some programs that helped me with communication, just so
Uh-huh.
I knew how to open a conversation, like a difficult conversation where in the past I didn't know how. Or I wasn't
Mm.
healed, so that I would like lash out, and people just don't respond well to that or blame, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did
so
you, I remember, like, I didn't do the research too far back, but I remember, like, seeing something you would go to, like, Mastin and Kip. Is that his workshop? Like, the love.
Oh, I haven't been to his workshop. I've seen his content on social media. So yeah, I would follow a bunch of people like that, and
Uh-huh,
I
uh-huh.
was I was really really into personal growth. And
Yeah.
probably for a good like 6 years I just really dove into it. And I mean the work doesn't stop, right? I mean as you know like
Yeah,
after
yeah.
you're married and you have kids, like the work doesn't stop. And so it just takes constant self-awareness and the desire and the willingness to work on yourself so you show up as the best version of yourself.
Ah, I love it. Okay, one more question before our hot topic, which we've been talking about this whole time. But what is your what is your biggest accomplishment in business?
I would just say overall, it's and I feel very lucky that I'm in a position where I was able to pursue this, is just choosing something that I'm genuinely passionate about.
Mm,
And then the other thing I'll say is also the a positive impact on others, that I get to help others like change their life, like help people be if I could help people be just a little bit happier. I mean, that's
mm,
like what I feel like that's what most people want. Like, I just want to be happy. I want to feel good. And I know what it feels like to not feel good, to feel down.
yeah.
Like, it sucks.
Uh-huh.
So if I could just help people gain clarity and shift their mindset a little bit to feel better. Or I get really happy when I hear of people like they met their person. Like, I helped them meet their person, or they're going to get married. I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's a
No.
big deal."
You've always been a positive light in my perspective, and like I read all your reviews on Amazon, and it was just amazing. Like they said, like you really helped them find their soulmate. And I love watching all your videos. You just and your podcasts, and it's actually really enlightening for me to learn about things from all the work that you've been doing. So I just that's why I was so excited to have this conversation with you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for letting me come on and also talk about this, because I know normally you talk more about like business in the in the wedding
Yeah,
world,
yeah, yeah. I
right?
just talk to people like I want to talk to that inspire me.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's super fun, and I feel like dating and relationships is relatable for everyone.
Yeah, okay, so you kind of like, alluded to this whole topic, but tell us why you chose this topic and we're going to go into like three little tips.
Sure. Yeah, this topic, just because I feel like everyone can relate to it, whether you are looking to create an intimate relationship or if you're already married. I feel like there's always ways that we can improve. And
Yeah.
um, I I think a lot of us do, we value our personal relationships. Like, in the end, like, just say you're on, like, your deathbed and you think about all the things you're gonna think about. It's usually not like, "Thank God I got published in Vogue magazine." None of that
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
stuff matters in the end. You think about the
Mm,
people in your life and the impact that you had on them and that they had on you. And so I always think about
oh,
that. So I'm like, "How am I showing up? Am I doing my best with my personal relationships?"
wow, that's so crazy. My anniversary was 2 days ago for my 7-year
Oh,
anniversary, and it was
happy
really
anniversary.
oh, thank you. It was really special for me, and I think him because we had a really rocky marriage and really rocky 2021, like really probably the worst. It was just working so much and crazy.
Pandemic.
And I feel like, yeah, we finally, after 10 years of dating, like accepted each other for who we are as people. And it just felt so like, I don't know, we were both like really celebrating. Like he was going through my old photos and just like, wow, like I totally forgot about that. And we've been through so much together. And when we were fighting and not good, I just totally erased all the good memories from my mind. I was just like, wow, like I don't know you, blah, blah, blah. Like, why are we together? This and that. So, like, the anniversary thing was like, oh my God, like, we do love each other. Whoa, you know?
Oh, that's so lovely to hear. I wanted to ask you more about your marriage, but I wasn't sure how much time we had. But I'm so happy to
Yeah,
hear
ask
that.
me.
And also that's great that you share that too, because I mean, Instagram, social media, typically it's all talking about the positive stuff, right? And so when something's wrong, which what you said is very normal, like things are not always good. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Like the pandemic just heightened everything. Like, same with us. Like, Pia and I, we went through a house remodel during the pandemic.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Have you gone through a house remodel while living
Uh-uh.
in the house? I don't
No, no.
recommend it, and I didn't know what to expect, but it was not a sexy time, okay? It was not a sexy time. It was so much pressure on us and, like, stress, and you're just doing things. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
we don't
Mm-hmm.
have kids, but I'm sure with kids sometimes it feels like that too. Like, you're just doing, and it's easy, and that is a muscle that you have to work on as well, like want to work on, is seeing the good in things and the
Mm.
gratitude, because it's really easy if you want to look at all the bad things, it's really easy to do that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, for me, I really have to be conscious of that, of like, what's the good here? So I don't spiral
Oh,
into a negative, spiral and hate your guts.
yeah. Oh my God. Like, I feel like for me, because you asked about me, Stu was attracted to me because I was high performing. Because, I heard from the grapevine, like his ex was not. So
Okay.
they said like I was a breath of fresh air. But then I felt like he resented me so much for me trying to be ambitious. And end of 2021, he was like so resentful to the point like he was just pretty much putting me down for everything. And I was like, where is this coming from? And I just, truly understood now. I understand now that he like resented me for being always being gone. And I was like, I'm trying to like do this coaching thing. Like I'm trying to like get it off the ground. Like I'm trying to do the podcast. I'm trying to write a book. I'm trying to while shooting like so many weddings on steroids. And I just wasn't good at communicating my vision to him. So to the point where he wasn't on this journey with me and he was kind of like, when is this going to happen? Like the coaching thing. And I was like, dude, I'm literally doing everything to make it happen. But I think if I had better communication skills, I would have taken him through like the ups and the downs and like what I'm dealing with. But I think he was just kind of left in the dark. And then to the point where just like literally like we didn't know each other anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's no, that's amazing that you guys were able to talk about it and that there's clarity now. It is important that, and P and I too are. We were just texting today about like we're getting a lot better at working as a team. And it's been
Mm,
almost 7 years, so that's another thing I've learned is things take time. It's not
yeah.
it's that it's natural and you're good and you skip away like in Disney movies. Like it takes time to get to know someone. Stuff happens in life and you have to adjust and you have to constantly check in with yourself and check in with the other person. Like, are we on
Yes.
the same page here? And exactly like you said, sometimes if you wait too long, it can be really hard to come back together. So I P and I are making an effort to constantly check in so we to avoid the drifting too far and then having it really difficult to come back. Just like,
Yes.
what's up? Where you at? Have your
Yeah.
values changed?
Yeah. Oh, value. What does your vision board look like? Did they shift things around? Cool. Okay, so back to the topic. Sorry for the tangent. So finding love for high performers. Take it away with tip number one.
Stay open. Very
Ooh.
simple, but I think a lot of high performers are not open. And well, I mean, we can be pretty critical. So
Yes.
staying open, because sometimes I'm like, why don't you try talking to this person? And they're like, no. I'm like, I'm just saying talk to them. Like, you don't have to marry them. But when someone
Mm,
says like, no, not my type, I'm like, I can tell they're not open at all. And you have to be in an open headspace in order
mm,
to let that love in, because it might look different from what you think it's going to look like. So just to stay open.
yes, I love that tip. I was just like 6 foot tall Asian man, blah blah blah. Done. Like next person I meet, like that. Okay, take us away with tip number two.
Tip number 2, again, very simple, is stay curious. And this will help in all aspects of your life. You'll notice you'll be a lot happier if you are in a curious headspace. So, not being hard on yourself if something doesn't work out the way you want. Like, oh, I failed again. No, like, what am I learning here? Or staying curious about your partner. That is a fantastic headspace to be in versus I already know everything about you and nothing's going to change. Staying
Oh,
curious, like, because people are always growing and changing too, right? And when you approach
uh-huh.
conversations with curiosity, it goes a lot better.
Oh my God, this is really therapeutic for me.
Your
I
face
just,
is it's cute.
I, yeah, it just, I really never thought of it like that way because it's perfect for me because my husband, like, he wasn't a cop when we got together and it took him like a while, like 5 years. And then so when he became a cop and like, going through all this crazy stuff, he changed a lot, kind of like for the better, honestly. But he was like more assertive, more outgoing, and it was like a new him. But when you're curious about your partner, like you go into every like dinner with like you're on the first date. And
Yeah.
when they feel like heard and love, I feel like they are going to get like give it back to you the same way.
Oh, totally. It's a totally different energy. It feels so good when people are curious about you. And you have kids, so kids are curious about everything. It's so refreshing.
Mm,
They don't pretend to know everything. They
yeah.
want to know it. And it for me, it definitely I have felt it. It makes me a way happier person when I approach life with curiosity.
Ooh, I love that word. I never like really associated that word with like your relationship. I love it. Okay. I guess for time's sake, take us away with tip number 3.
Sure. Tip number 3 would be focus on feeling good versus getting things right. Because
Mm,
I think your emotional intelligence system, it's very wise. And I mean, that's the goal in
mm,
life too, is we want to feel good. Because sometimes
mhm.
if you're results driven, you might have experienced like, oh, like I want to go after this, and you meet your goal. And then after you get there, you're like, okay, now what? It didn't make you as
Yeah.
happy as you thought it would. And then you go on to the next thing and the next thing. So when it comes to dating as well, like sometimes we get so hung up, like I need to make this work, or otherwise I'm a failure,
Oh,
but I'm like, dude, just focus on feeling good. Go on the dates to have fun and to feel good. And that's when that's when it happens too, right? Is when you're feeling good, not when you're trying to force something. So in
yeah.
life,
Do you watch The Ultimatum?
no, I I just saw it on Netflix as like one of the top 10. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So they like have their partners, but and one's giving them like the ultimatum to get married, but then they date like they could date like the other 6 couples,
Okay.
or the opposite sex. And it's weird because when they find like the new one, of course they're on like their best behavior, like they're all like, haha, fun, fun, fun. And then they have the last 3 weeks to go back to like their initial person, and then they become like a different person. It's like, what? Like this one person I'm talking about, I was like, whoa, like he's such a good listener. He's so evolved. I'm sure he did therapy. And then I was like, and the other girl was attacking him, and he just like took it so well, and he was so mature. And then he gets back with like, the other his first girlfriend, and he like was acting like a child, and like just fighting back, and like, going like this with his ears. And I was like, whoa, like he just became like a whole different person. So it just interesting just saying like, yeah, try to like actually have a good time.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, I'll have to watch that show. It makes me think of like, I mean, the real him is the one that acts like a child, right? Not the
Oh
one
yeah,
on
yeah,
his
yeah,
best
yeah, uh-huh.
behavior. So, one more extra tip I'll give, if
Yes.
you're dating, is show up authentically as you from the beginning. If you want someone to love you for you, and you want that ease in a long-term relationship, I mean, this sounds very logical, but sh- show up authentically as you. So don't do anything that you normally wouldn't do, like pretending that you like what they like, or like pretending you're
Yeah.
a super patient person if you're not. I mean, I did that just because I knew like I wanted to create a marriage where someone genuinely loved me for me. I didn't want to have to pretend or like play smaller to make them comfortable. I dated some guys who were not comfortable with me taking off traveling all the time, and I felt like I had to make myself small.
Mm.
I didn't want to feel like that. And
Mm.
I realized in order to create that, I had to show up in a way where they could see me, like the real me. And so my husband, like he knew what he was signing up for. I showed him all of me.
Mhm.
I could be a total pain in the ass. I don't like to be told what to do. And he knows
Uh-huh.
that. And he'll say that. He's like, babe, I know what I signed up for. I'm like, okay, good. And he genuinely loves me for me. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite videos of you when you said that. I was like, Yeah, it's like stop trying to like put on this act because, once you're married, like you're not gonna want to put on the this front anymore. It's exhausting. And if you don't show who you are, you're just gonna end up like, the heartbreak kid at the
Yeah.
movie, like
Yeah.
Ben Stiller's wife. She just, gets married and she learns like she was a cokehead and like she was singing like obnoxiously the whole car ride and she was just totally different person. And he's like, what the heck? Like I didn't sign up for this.
Totally, no one likes to feel like that, like tricked, like, "What?" Like, "Who
Yeah.
who are
Bait
you?" And
and
of course,
switch.
we do grow throughout, the course of years, but for the most part, people wanna know what they're signing up for, and just think of whatever you would like or not like done to you, and be that person. And it's all, like, very simple and easier said than done, if there's, like, growth that you wanna do or have to do. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like a lot of my content, I like to simplify things because it is very simple. Doing it is another thing. But yeah, once you dive into the healing and improving communication and gaining clarity, it becomes a lot easier.
Oh, I love this. I feel like I'm gonna have a more amazing relationship after this conversation. But let me recap real fast. So number one, stay open. Don't put them on a box. Your love of your life could be something you totally didn't imagine. Number two, stay curious, always about your significant other. So maybe you've known this guy for like over 10 years, but there's something that you didn't know about him. Maybe he's changing and evolving, and you don't want to be like 5 years from now, say, oh, I don't even know him anymore, or vice versa. Number three, focus on feeling good, not just the destination. So, feeling good with your husband, maybe like go have some laughs. Like, I was in Vegas and with my girlfriends, and we actually were talking to these men that were married. And he said one of his friends was going to get a divorce, and they were just like fighting. And he said, dude, get drunk, you two, go to a porn shop. You don't even have to like buy anything. It's just freaking hilarious. Like all you need to do is like have a night where you're just like cracking up and like finding that connection again.
Yeah, yeah, feel good.
Yeah, have a fun night. Like don't talk about your problems, whatever. Like just be you guys like how you were like kids. So and your last tip was it show up?
Yeah, show up as you,
Oh yeah,
as
yeah, yeah, yeah.
genuinely you. Let
Yes.
people see you. And I think a lot of high performers, we have trouble being vulnerable. A lot of us do. That's a
Mm-hmm.
whole thing too, but that really opens up a lot of doors if you
Yeah,
learn
it's
how to
very
do that.
hard
Like
to be vulnerable.
right? Like all your relationships will just blossom if you learn to be vulnerable, and it's something I constantly have to work on.
Oh, okay. So let's go into fun questions. Let's see. Best advice from your parents.
For my parents, I think my mom would be actually both of them. They both have a good work ethic, and my mom said, being financially independent. That's my favorite thing that she has drilled into our heads. That's my sister and I. Just because we both like having options, and that's what she taught us that it would give us is options to be financially independent.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that video of her. She's hilarious. Now, next question would be, let's see. Um, Tell me a coachy question. Like, if you had a magic wand, where would you see your business in 3 to 6 months?
A magic wand, does that mean like best case scenario?
Yes.
I would love to have my own show, my own TV show. That is my goal.
Oh,
If it can happen in 3 to 6 months, that would be awesome.
wow.
And
I
I
have a
mean
I have a hookup. I know this girl that works at a reality company, so I'll connect you to
okay.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Yeah, and there's so many, avenues now. That's the good news for creators, that there's, traditional media, but there's also new media that we can put out our own content on YouTube or whatever it may be. So I'm just doing and putting content out, and I'm confident it'll get there. When, I don't know. But yes, I would love your contact.
Okay, so you're a podcaster. Do you mind asking me a quick question?
Oh, I could ask you any question?
Yeah.
When was the last time you were embarrassed?
Oh, embarrassed. Oh my
Embarrassed.
gosh. Oh my god. Right now. Um, I was this wedding, and I think it just was, like, the very start of the wedding, and I guess the grooms, they had, like, expensive, like, coat jackets, and then I put them, like, on top of each other, like, on the bed, and then this guy, like, got really upset.
That's because they would get, like, wrinkled?
I guess, but he was like, "Oh, no, honey, you never do that to whatever Versace,"
Oh, no.
and I was like I turned, like, bright red, and in my head, I was like, "Oh my god," like, I was so embarrassed.
Aw.
But I'm like, shit like that happens at weddings, and you just kinda, like, have to brush it off.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. Lots of stuff like that happens, I remember that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
why do you ask that question? I never got asked that before.
It's a very vulnerable question, isn't it? Because we're
Yeah,
talking about being vulnerable, and it's just like a lot of people like, I don't think no, I don't like feeling embarrassed. Like, no one likes to feel embarrassed, but just like, but we all have felt it, so I
yeah, oh
think
my
it's
god,
nice
that's
to
so
share.
funny.
Nice to
I
share.
love it, I love it. Okay, so I guess your lasting advice for our listeners and viewers about how to find your true love if you are a high performer like me and Christine Chang.
I think it goes back to just in general when I say stay open. That headspace isn't just like stay open to types. If you're open, you'll also be open to growth or where you need to do some work on yourself. Because yeah, if you're
Oh,
closed
I
off,
love that.
you won't be open to trying things like therapy or let me try reading this book or
Mm,
things
mhm.
like that. So I would ask them, are you open?
I love that.
If
Okay, that's
not,
a really good.
yeah, if not, you need to be open to create what you want.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Okay, I guess that's a total mic drop moment, which you had plenty today. But tell us where everyone could find you. I know you're all over the place, so
I am. I'm on all the platforms, but I think Instagram's a good place. My Instagram is at C Chang and Co. And you can just go to my website, christinechang.com. It has the link to my book on Amazon. If you're watching on YouTube, it looks like this. It's available on Kindle and paperback. Those are the two places the two I will mention. I'm almost also on TikTok and on all the
YouTube,
podcast
okay.
platforms, but you'll find it on my website.
Yay, thank you, Christine. I'm so happy
Thank
we
you,
had this
Krista.
conversation.